Good evening. It's 8:30 p.m. on the 12th of March 2023. I've had a weird and upsetting day, well, 24 hours really. So the weird thing that happened last night was, yesterday was pretty weird all in all, actually. I've had a spirit in my ear whispering for the last 3 days, right, previous 3 days. Stones Corner, Stones Corner, Stones Corner, which is deeply triggering because years and years ago, I used to go to Stones Corner fairly regularly. That's when I lived a fair way away at Logan Lee. My kids were in high school and I used to drive, I think it used to take me about 30 minutes to get to Stones Corner. And we're talking 20 years ago now. And I used to run into at that time frame, a flame, a lover who's dead now. So I don't know if the voice in my head was coming from him or if it was just some weird confabulation. But anyway, the other reason I don't, I get triggered when I go to Stones Corner is I met these Serbian guys, or a particular Serbian guy, also years ago. And he was a weird guy and he sort of basically stalked me around every time I was at Stones Corner. He'd stalk me around. It was kind of amusing at times. I'd go in one entrance to avoid him and he'd dive in the other end and come meeting me, He thought that was romantic. I just thought that was creepy and stalkerish. Anyway, his next trip, we never had a fling or any casual encounter or anything. Never had a sexual thing, but he was just weird Serbian guy. Anyway, his next trick was he found out because he saw me when he went to the casino. So he started following me around in the casino, coming to the live wire bar where I dance. So to be fair, he hasn't harassed me at the casino for quite some years now because I just point blank froze him out and ignored him every time. So I had this voice in my head, Stones Corner, Stones Corner. I'm like, for fuck's sake, So I sort of pushed it aside. On Friday, I had a date, not a date, but I had an arrangement to go out for dinner with my close family friend, my friend of 32 years, Jared. So Friday is when I normally go to the live wire bar dancing, but I knew I was going to be out that night, having dinner with my friend, and then we came back and we watched Encanto, which is a Disney movie, which was lovely. So we're both very fond of magic and the supernatural and the paranormal, and he wanted me to see this particular movie because it was about a magical house. And we're watching this movie and I said to Jared, because I loved all the colours, it was set in Colombia, I said, I need to paint that lovely turquoise colour on my front door because my door's faded and ugly looking, which I think I will. It inspired me to paint my front door turquoise, right? Because God's only know Housing Commission isn't going to paint this house. They just hope I die soon and then they'll bulldoze the thing and sell it for millions of dollars, right? That's the evil plan, we all know. So anyway, I know I sound paranoid, but that's what happens with the stock in my area. The people die or they get forcibly moved on somewhere and then they just sell it off to land developers. That's been happening here quite regularly. So anyway, so we had a lovely evening Friday. And so Saturday came along. Saturday morning I got up and I'm still hearing this Stones Corner, Stones Corner, Stones Corner. And I'm still pushing it away because I'm like, why? Number one, I don't like taking orders from anyone, which is why I haven't worked in a traditional working environment for many, many years. I don't like bullies. I don't like people who are condescending and patronising, and I don't like order givers, authority figures, because I had a lifetime of basically being pretty much emotionally tortured. So now I'm just like, Nuh-uh, fool, won't be going there. Sometimes, sometimes me holding my ground is a positive thing, and other times I probably miss out on opportunities, but I have to stay with what feels safe and comfortable for me, right? So I had this go to Stones Corner still in my head. By this time yesterday, it was like day 3 of it. So it comes to about 1 o'clock-ish in the afternoon. I thought, all right, it was a bit of a rainy day, a bit miserable, grey anyway. And I thought, oh, well, I'll go to Stones Corner, see what it is that's waiting for me. Of course, I expected it to be, I don't know, bump into some old friend or something really particularly meaningful, Well, as you know, a few days ago, I made a video about my grandmother, Eva, who was, her mother was Polish. Actually came from Posen, Germany, but used to be Poznan, used to be in Polish territory. So I think it is back in Polish territory after World War II as well. But anyway, so the thing about that was I was getting all these synchronicities even while I was making that video connected to my grandmother Eva, which was a bit weird. So here's the weird thing. So I go to the Stones Corner, park my car, go out, and there's not really many shops left there at Stones Corner. It's nothing of any great interest, but there's now about 4, is it 4 or 3? 4. There's 4 opportunity shops, second-hand shops. So I thought, well, there's nothing much to do here except go to Aldi and buy groceries. I thought, well, I'll go and I'll look at the opportunity shops. So the first one I went to, as I approached it, there was a man sitting on the bench out the front of the shop, like a public, seating bench. And he was head down, he looked very downcast, he looked very either on the nod with heroin or he was just on the brink of suicide was the vibes I was getting from him, right? And I thought, oh, that's just dreadful. And everyone just sort of walked past him, no one reacted, no one showed any kindness, and neither did I, but I just got this feeling of seepage, So I went into the op shop and I looked around, couldn't see anything that I wanted to buy, anything that particularly spoke to me. I took some time having a good look at everything. And then I came out and I saw that this man was still sitting on this bench, still head down. And I had observed while I was in the shop, the person working in the shop, at the shop counter, had been watching him, also probably a bit concerned. And I thought, well, you know what? It's incumbent on me as a human being to be kind, because I've been in that headspace when I was suicidal, and sometimes a kind word is all it takes, right? The difference between life and death, and between comedy and tragedy, and just putting the brakes on things sometimes. So I went up to the man and I said, are you all right? And he looked up at me and he says, oh, have you got any change? So I thought, oh, that'd be right. There's always someone on the make, always. But I thought, oh, well, he'd been sitting there for a while and he was probably thirsty, probably wanted to buy a drink. He was holding an empty can of like some energy drink or something. So anyway, I said, yeah, I think I do have some change. And so I reached in, I gave him $2 and he just said thank you, and I moved on. Anyway, I went to the next second-hand shop, spent a lot of time looking in there. I tried on a pair of shoes, but they were beautiful, really sexy shoes, but they were just too high. I thought, I'm going to be crippled, I won't be able to wear them. I've reached the age where I can't wear very high heels anymore, which is tragic because I love high heels. So anyway, I looked around there, didn't see anything in that shop either that particularly spoke to me. So I'm thinking, well, why is Spirit nagging me to go to Stones Corner? What was the reason why I had to be here? And it's not about being an angel and giving some homeless guy or some disturbed, broken down person $2, because I do that anyway. Like, it's not, that wasn't the purpose why I had to be there, right? And I thought, no, it's nothing to do with that. And it's not like it's not like I did anything out of character anyway. So I go to the third, I had walked down right around Stones Corner, right up the other end. I go to this third second-hand shop. And that one actually has often very lovely clothing in it, but I didn't look at the clothing. I did, but just sort of briefly. And I had a sense of deja vu, really powerful deja vu when I was in there, because there was an older man, white Australian man with his Asian wife, and they were looking at some little tiny Swiss little tankard ornament, like, those beer stein tankard type things. And the Asian wife was like saying, oh, it says Swiss. And because it's spelt that way, right? And the older man said, no, it's Swiss. And I could hear them arguing. She's going, no, it says Sue-is. And he's like, no, it says Swiss. And he was actually right. So I sort of walked past them and I said, how did I put it? It was quite witty, but she didn't understand it. She got offended. I said, it's Swiss, and it's Swiss, and either way it's Swiss. And she was like, what? And sort of words to that effect. I can't remember how I put it. It was wittier than that. And the husband just sort of looked at me. And I said, your husband is right. It says Swiss. I said, in Switzerland, they don't spell it S-W-I-S-S. They spell it S-U-I-S-S. S-S, I think, with an E on the end. And she was like, oh, so it's instead of the W, it says U, and it still says Swiss. And I was like, yeah, that's correct. And then she looked at me a bit annoyed, because it meant the husband was right, I think, when they were having their little argument. So he just sat there smirking quietly like this. And I carried on looking at everything. So here's the funny thing, why I was sent to Stones Corner. So the other thing, yesterday morning, I sold a light fitting that was superfluous to my needs and I didn't want. And the man that picked it up was so thrilled with it and said he'd been looking for one for a while because he'd broken one and he was needing it because he's doing up a piano bar in 1920s style and he just needed this big, round globe, right? So I sold it for $20, and which was cheap because just the gallery fitting that holds it to the ceiling is worth that much, $15, $20. And so I get sent to Stones Corner to buy these. Can you see it? Hang on. So this lovely little wood-turned box. Anyway, lift it up. So I brought it home and I immediately put wood seasoning on it, gave it a bit of a polish up. And when you look at the back of it, it says Firma Producino Handlova TAG Krakow Ulmishgenikov, or that must be the suburb or where it was made. But Krakow is in Poland, right? So I look at this box and I go, okay, one of my Polish ancestors, which can either be my grandmother who was born in Charlottenburg, Berlin, but identified as Polish, or my grandfather, biological grandfather, who was a very powerful witch, actually. I don't think it was him. I think it was my grandmother. Just have that feeling. Anyway, it could be my grandfather, though, because he came from Tarnowo in Poland. So, yeah. But anyway, I was struck by the beautiful way it's carved and painted, and there's like even a goldy, coppery edging to it. Anyway, it was $10. I couldn't go past it. And then because of my Dutch stepfather, I saw these cute little wooden carved Dutch clogs. So I bought those, and they were $3. So anyway, I need clogs like a hole in the head. I've got quite a few. Here's my Delft collection, and I've got a little clog there still from my mother. So I really don't need clogs, but they were wooden and they were cute, and they went with all the other things I bought. Hang on, I'm just going into my spare room. So here's the other weird things I bought at the same time in the same shop, were these wooden bowls. They have a hole in the side, and the man serving me in the second-hand shop when I paid for it said, "Yes, I don't know what they're for." I said, "Oh, I think they're for noodle bowls because they've got the hole where you put the chopstick." But then later on I thought, but they're wooden bowls. Like, I don't know if soup or noodles with hot steamy liquid would go well in a wooden bowl. So I've decided that they're yarn bowls, because you thread the wool through and you sit the ball of wool, and as you're knitting, it goes through this hole here, and then your wool doesn't get all tangled, right? So that's why I had it in there next to the other yarn bowl I bought ages ago, at great expense, mind you. So these were very, very lovely, and I immediately came home and put wood seasoning on them as well. So that was my purchase in that second-hand shop. Hang on, I'm just going to squeeze past everything. Squeeze past. So I came out of there delighted with my purchases, but thinking, well, that was a bit strange, right? Especially this little wooden box from Poland. Oh, looks like a nipple there. Anyway, very strange, but lovely. I'll sit it up there next to my wooden vase. And then I'll put the little shoes. They can all sit together, looking very sweet. So I got all that for $29, which I kind of hesitated to spend that much. But I thought, well, you know, I got $20 for the light, and I've spent $9 extra for a few bubkas I don't need, so that's all right. And I came home feeling quite happy about that, but also a bit conscious that my ancestors are tweaking me a little bit, ordering me to go to Stone's Corner because that little box was waiting for me. Maybe it was just a fluke. So, all right, the next weird thing that happened last night was I went dancing Saturday night, which I usually go on a Friday, but given that I didn't go because I had an arrangement to have dinner with my lovely friend, my best male friend, who's been loyal and devoted and a sweet friend for the last 32 years, as has my friend Lynn, although I've known Lynn for longer. I met Lynn when I first came to Brisbane like 35 years ago, right? So almost 35 years ago, it'll be in August. So anyway, I thought, well, I'll go dancing. And last week there was a bit of, I actually wrote a formal complaint because I got overcharged for a glass of Jack Daniels. They charged me for a bottle, and normally I was just let things go. It's only a matter of a few dollars, but you know, the bar was dirty last week, covered in alcohol, got all over my lovely dress, got all over my arms, wiping off with tissues. Like, it was just gross. And that annoyed me. And then on top of it, to be overcharged really annoyed me. So anyway, on Wednesday, the young manager rang me and said she would reimburse me for the the overcharged Jack Daniels, which she did immediately, right? So that was the end of that matter. I got reimbursed $12.60, and I thought, well, that's fair enough, I'm satisfied with that. My complaint was taken seriously and I was reimbursed, and, that's fine. But there was a little bit of a backlash last night, which I kind of expected somehow. As I was driving, I thought, I wonder if there'll be any malfeasance or mischief, just wondered. I just had that feeling, right? Because I'm nothing if not tuned into the multiverses right about now, and I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing, because it means I'm overthinking things and I'm worried and I'm stressed. But anyway, I thought, oh well, best to be on high alert just in case, right? So I walk into the Live Wire bar, and there was some Indian man standing in my traditional spot. Now, bear in mind, I don't arrive till 10. So if they're there before me and they're having a good time, it's now their spot, right? I don't own that area, and I'm not usually there on a Saturday. So whatever happens, right? So I thought, well, there's this Indian man in my spot, and there was a whole group of women around him. They were obviously a group and they're dancing together. I wasn't going to push my way in and claim my spot, which I have been known to do over the years. But I thought, I can't be bothered being arrogant and obstinate and stubborn about my spot, given that I'm not normally there on Saturday nights. That would just be infantile and crazy, So I, not that it wasn't infantile and crazy on the other occasions I've done it, but, I just didn't feel like any conflict. So I moved to the other spot, which was the left-hand side of the bar. And I danced for a little while, and everything was fine, And then I went to get a drink, because I was thirsty and I hadn't got a drink first up. Usually my usual habit is I get a drink before I even start dancing, but I've stopped doing that. I sort of dance for a while, wait till I'm actually thirsty, then go and get a drink, I don't need to obsessively have a drink for, to hold on to just for a crutch, right? So anyway, I go to the bar, and the same young Indian male bartender serves me. And I could tell by the way he looked at me, he remembered me, because they would have said, you overcharged her and you made a mistake, whatever. Anyway, he just gives me this nasty, condescending fucking look, right? And I'm right, oh, here we go. And he does this every time. I order a Jack Daniels and Coke, and he goes, what? Max said he can't hear me. So I repeated it, and this time, second repeat, he goes, oh, okay, goes and gets a drink and starts laughing with his other bartender. Probably not laughing at me. They could be laughing at anything. But I just thought, oh, isn't that interesting? He's giving me shit and they're laughing about it. I thought, well, I'll let that go, because I don't know, no good running around being paranoid. Let it pass. So there was an Asian lady beside me that it was actually kind of pushing in to get in beside me. And so she saw the whole thing happen too, actually. So anyway, he makes my drink and he puts it right out of my reach where I can't reach it. So I just look at him, because I knew that was deliberate. And even the Asian lady beside me, she just sort of looked too. And then there was a couple to the right of me, and they were leaning over, and they were in the way of me reaching the straws. So I said to them, excuse me, I just want to reach over and grab a straw. These were other customers. And they gave me this nasty, fucking vicious, condescending, drunky look that people get. And I was like, oh, fuck you. It's not unreasonable to want to have a straw with your drink, and you're in the way, seriously. If they were polite, they could have just grabbed it for me, right? No. More assholery than you can poke a stick at. So by now I'm getting a little bit annoyed. But anyway, I grab my straw. I have to reach right across the bar to get my drink. I've handed the young bartender, my money. He's come back gives me this actual look. I wanted to punch him in the face by this stage. Gives me my change. I nod. And I said, turned to the Asian lady beside me who was tiny, petite and shorter than me. I said, this is the worst service in Brisbane here. She went, oh, I agree. Because she could see how hard he made it for me to reach my drink. You know, I just thought that was nasty. That was really condescending and nasty. So anyway, I grabbed my drink. And because the Live Wire bar, I've been going there for 12 years, but the bar service is well known for being pretty arrogant and obnoxious and a bit rude most of the time. And no one goes there for the scintillating bar staff and their tender, you know, caring, respectful way of serving the public. We don't go there for that attitude. We go there to dance to the bands, right? And we just tolerate some of the negatives, which is the bar. And as I said in my complaint last week, it was filthy last week. They hadn't wiped it down. There was alcohol dripping everywhere. The place was just like a seeping mess, all right? So add in the rudeness and the obnoxious staff with seeping filthy mess. It's really off-putting. I'm actually seriously considering it's time I moved on, stopped going there, went back to my old habit of, you know, just finding another venue where I'm treated courteously because it's getting awful. So anyway, I turn with my drink and I go to, you know, to go to my left-hand position, which isn't my usual spot, but near the band, you know. And there were drunk people all milling around standing, couldn't get through. And my friend Len, who's one of the regulars, he's shorter than me and very petite. And he's such a gentleman. He's a very kind person. He was too much of a gentleman to push through. But I'm coming up behind him and I said, come on, Len, you just have to say, excuse me, and shove them out of your way. You know how it works. They're all drunk. They're not thinking clearly. Make your way through. I said, because no matter what happens, I'm coming through behind you too. And he sort of giggled and he sort of weaved in through. And then I followed on his heels behind them. All the drunks are like, It really is the zombie apocalypse, but it's got worse now. It's got much worse now. So anyway, he giggles and sort of waits for me a little bit to join in as I'm milling through, and I go straight to the left-hand spot. He goes, oh, you're not in your spot? And I was like, no, there's other people there, and that's okay, you know. And so Amy, the manager, I don't know if she followed me or if she was already, I couldn't quite work it out actually, it was a bit surreal. She might have already been talking to the tech guy that does the music. But she sees me go to put my glass down, which admittedly there are a lot of wires and there are a lot of connections, you know, to the electricity that keeps all the speakers and all the tech going, right? So she turns to me and she snaps at me, right? And she says to me, don't put your drink down there. You can't have, I don't want anybody putting their drinks near the equipment. And I just looked at her and I said, really? I said, well, I'm actually like not in my usual spot. I'm usually on that side. And she looks. And then she sort of looked back at me, and I said, but I said, why can't I put my drink down? I said, number one, I said, I'm a grown-up and I don't slosh or spill my drinks like the other people do, and I really don't. And number two, I said, I've been coming here for 12 years. I said, I've been dancing here for 12 years. I said, this isn't my normal night. It's a Saturday night. I'm normally here on Fridays, but I do occasionally come on a Saturday. I said, and number three, I said, why would I jeopardise the equipment and the bands when I come here to dance? Like, what makes you think that I would deliberately slosh my drink over the equipment? I said, and also, I said, there was already some unpleasantness here last Friday, I said, "You," I said, "must be Amy." And she looks at me in shock. She says, yes, I'm Amy. I'm the manager here. This is my bar." I don't think it's her bar, but what she means is she's in charge of the goings-on in that bar, right? And I nodded, and I said, "Well, I'm Tanya Aarons, and you spoke to me on Wednesday, sorting out the issue from last week." And she sort of looked at me a bit embarrassed because, number one, we've never set eyes on each other before. She must be new. And number two, I think she freaked out that I guessed immediately who she was. I just guessed, because I'm psychic and that. Anyway, she looks at the other spot where I normally would be, and then she sort of nodded at me. She said, "Well, I don't want you putting your drink down near all the wires here, because it's my bar and I don't want anything going wrong." And I nodded, thinking at that point about leaving, actually, because I'm like, I'm not going to be treated like I'm in fucking kindergarten by any mischievous little imp. I don't care what job designation they think they have, right? Anyway, I looked up at the techie guy who knows me well because I go there regularly every week for years, and he's been working there the last few years. And even he's looking at me like this, like expecting me to hit the roof, right? So I said to her, "No, look, that's okay. I appreciate you don't want things damaged." She says, I said, "Oh, well." And she said, "Oh, but I'll get you a table. I'll get you a table. I'll bring a table over for you." And I'm like, what? No one's ever brought a table over for me before. So I could see she's trying to find a compromise, to appease the wild live wire bar queen of the zombie apocalypse, queen of the zombies herself, since I officially used to be one for 30 years, right? Like brains. I don't eat brains, but you get my vibe. So anyway, she's being accommodating. She knows I was pissed off. So she goes immediately, turns behind me and starts talking to some customers. There were 2 tables wedged in front of them, and she asks their permission to take one of the tables, and the customer looks at her and looks at me. I didn't give a fuck about the table, actually. I really didn't. I was just amused to see what she was doing to make sure that I'm not, annoyed beyond belief, which by then I was already annoyed because of the rudeness at the bar again, right? Which is not her fault per se, but it's her bar, so she needs to clean it up. Just saying. So anyway, Amy brings me the table, positions it right in front of me. I said, "Thank you." I put my glass down on the table. I put my bag and my shawl on the actual stage next to the equipment, because that's not going to do any damage. It's just a bag and a shawl, and I start resume drinking my drink. And even the techie guy's just looking at me like, he could see I was like, so I just looked and went, fuck, because I'm like, what the fuck just happened? Right? I mean, you could take it as a compliment that she wanted to give me a table to put my drink on, but it's also a bit infantilizing. So anyway, I thought, oh, look at it on the bright side of life, that I'm being nurtured and cared for and protected and respected, which is all anyone wants on a wild night out in a wild bar in the Brisbane CBD. Good luck with that, babies. But anyway, so then the funny thing is, this other much younger woman, who was actually on the opposite side on my traditional spot, sees me with the table given to me, because they would have watched the whole drama. Because I actually said to Amy, I said, "Why is there a drama this weekend?" I said, after our little bit of unpleasantness last weekend, why is there now a drama? Why indeed? Curious minds want to know. So anyway, this other young woman sees me and she goes, oh my God, oh, that's just what I need. which I thought was strange, runs over, plonks her glass down on my table that was gifted to me because they think that I'm some kind of cretin or animal and slop drinks everywhere, which I never do. I never do. You know, a drink of Jack Daniels costs $8.40 or something, $8.60, I'm not even sure, $8.40 I think it is. It's precious. I drink every freaking drop, people. I'm not like the other peasants slopping things everywhere and breaking glasses every weekend, but I get persecuted for the other people's bad behaviour, right? I take umbrage at that too. So anyway, funny story. So the young woman joins with me and shares my table and puts a drink down, was really happy and danced with me most of the evening. Nice girl, nice woman. So so we carry on with our evening. And because the table's positioned right on the edge of the stage, the security guards were having to go around me and around the table, and I was very considerate of that because I'm right on their normal corner where they've got to manage things. So I would just step out of the way, let them have more of a pathway to get past. But it was just, that table was a bit of nonsense, really. It was a bit of cock flogging of what it was. It was a bit of one-upmanship. It was a bit of appeasement, but also, I'm going to treat you like a child. I'm going to make sure you behave in my pub, right? My bar. So anyway, whatever. Poor Amy. I decided she probably meant well. But as the evening progressed and people got drunker, I was very, very annoyed that I had been infantilized, and all along the front of the stage, other people had put their drinks down on the stage, which is what they normally do, by the way. And no one else got remonstrated or told off about it, or, you know, it was like all perfectly fine. So I just sat there, kept dancing, very bemused by it all, guarding my little table like a little prize, because I had fought for that table. Actually, I hadn't wanted a table shoved in front of me at all, but I fought for my right to be there yet again. So anyway, as fate would have it, the night goes on, continues on, and I'm getting tired, but by this stage I go into my trance, ecstatic states that I get into when I dance for hours. And so I was on my third or fourth wind, and I was dancing wildly with my friend Len and sort of romantically holding his shoulder and dancing, flirtatiously dancing around. And then another new acquaintance called Joe was watching me from the other part of the bar, and they all watch avidly. They're all a bit inadequate and weird, to be honest. But anyway, he's a sweet man, Joe. So he came up, this is towards the end of the evening, came up and gave me a kiss on the cheek. So I gave him a kiss on the cheek, and I was thinking to myself, you've been spying on me from the corner at the back of the bar all night, but now you've got Dutch courage to come and approach me and give me a kiss on the cheek. So I thought, oh, that's all right, that's harmless, it's sweet enough, you know. And Len was also very happy, pardon me, and he kissed me on the cheek too. And then one of the regular women, who's an enemy of mine now, we arrived together actually, walked up from the car park, and she completely shunned me, and I'm thinking, I don't care if you shun me. I'm still not over how she treated me at that Turkish restaurant years ago at a birthday when she thought she'd humiliate me about money, right? So I don't give a flying you know what about this woman. So she shunned me, I just ignored it. So she spent the whole evening glaring at me like this. Horrible. It was really horrible and uncalled for. So anyway, the evening progresses. I'm having my usual lovely time because I go there to dance and have a lovely time, and I don't worry about the politics behind the bar or the malfeasances or the jealous, spiteful women like the sex friend or the feral creeps, of which there are always at least 2 or 3. So one of my main stalkers, and he's stalked me for years, even years ago, Irish Murphys, so he turns up. And the security guards watch because they know I don't like this particular male. Absolutely detest him with every fibre of my being. So he continues to start approaching me. He circles and dances closer and closer to me. And each time I just turn my back. And I have to really control myself because sometimes I just feel like king hitting him. He's just that creepy. But, you know, I control myself very, very well because I realise people go there, have a nice time, and you can't help if you're a bit obsessed with a female and she's gorgeous or whatever. In his warped mind, he thinks I'm gorgeous. I don't know why. And he just harasses and harasses and harasses to the point where I want to kill him, right? And I can't do anything about it. It's a public space and he's obsessed and, you know, it's harmless enough. But it escalates and escalates to the point where I usually, you know, get very, very irritated and leave. So at one point, by this time the band had finished and it was a DJ playing. So at one point I had my back to this creepy freaking weird ass guy and I could see him in the reflection. I was watching him actually in the reflection of the DJ console, which is made out of some kind of black perspex. And I could see him standing not far behind me, just standing watching me, probably thinking about approaching me, right? And I could feel the tension building. I really could. If he approaches me, I'm just going to slap him this time. I mean, last time he turned up to the Live Wire Bar, I just recited Psalm 91 in his face and he got weirded out and took off. Yeah, because he really is a demonic little imp. But anyway, I can't keep doing that because that just looks crazy. And I'm just not going to let him intimidate me, right? Because he's just a nothing and a no one anyway. He's an insignificant little being, like. If I really wanted to harm him and I really cut loose, I mean, it'd be just pointless. He's just that insignificant. His whole idea of a wild night out is harassing me on the weekend, right? And the security guards let him because they think it's funny and whatever, you know. So, and this has been going on for 12 years, and it's no wonder that I'm a little bit over it. I'm a bit sick of the bullshit, quite frankly. So anyway, there was that. So it gets to about 1:30, and I'm actually quite tired, and I decide it's time to go home. So I say goodbye to the lovely Samoan lady who's a regular. And she says, oh, why are you going so early? I said, actually, I'm really tired. I said, and there's this creep that's been stalking and harassing me for 12 years now, I said. And I've got no interest in being here, being stalked and harassed by some malignant little idiot. And so she kind of laughed, you know. Anyway, I got up, and as I was walking, you know, to leave, I see another lady who's a regular customer there, a very nice woman. And she just looks at me. And last weekend, when my night finished, she actually approached me and threw her arms around me and gave me this really lovely hug and a cuddle, which was lovely because I actually do get very tired from dancing for hours, and I do feel quite sometimes a little bit regressed and a little bit vulnerable when I'm at the end of my night. I'm like on my last nerve and I'm just want to get in my car and go home, right? So, you know, she's watching me leave and she's looking at me face to face. And I remembered last week that she approached me and gave me a lovely hug goodbye and before I left. So I thought I'll give her a hug because I'm leaving this time. So I approached her and we threw our arms around each other, and she's very slim and elegant woman and very sweet woman. So we were just literally cuddling, like hugging, and big strong bear hug cuddling. And it was just lovely. But my enemy, my former friend, was sitting next to her. So she's like this, you know, not actually growling, but she might as well have been seething with rage that I'm getting affection and kindness from this woman that was sitting with her. right? I was like, well, I'm sorry, but I can't help it that some people actually like me out in the world. It's like, I didn't do anything to deserve that, but I take the love where I can get it, as long as it's not creepy and stalkerish and threatening and horrible, like creepy stalker guy. And his former friends who were just, this particular former friend anyway, who were just awful. It was awful. So anyway, I said to this lady, I said, oh, goodbye. And she's like, goodbye. And I went, goodbye. I said to the former friend, she's like, anyway, I thought that'll just take the wind out of her sails, really. Malfeasant fucking cow. But anyway, so I walk out of the casino, and I thought, oh, well, I'll go and have a little play on the pokies. So as I'm walking out downstairs where the pokies are, one of the other security guards sees me and he nods and smiles, And look, by and large, I'm well liked by the majority of the people that are the regulars there and the staff, because I've been going there for so long. They all sort of know me, and we have like a rapport. So I went to play the pokies, which is not my usual habit. And another lady that works there came, how are you going? I said, oh, the machine's really loud. It's hammering on my skull. I don't know how to turn the sound down. Because some of the machines you can mute the sound, but I couldn't find how to do it. So the machine's going boom, 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 crash, boom, boom. Like, it was not fun at all. Anyway, I lost my little bit of money that I put into it, which I wasn't too concerned because I don't gamble much. And I thought, oh, well, it's time to go home, So off I went, get in the car, drove home. So I woke up today at midday. Actually, it was 12:16. So I must have been really tired after my dancing last night. Plus all the stressors of creepy stalker guy, plus the weirdness about the table and the bar being rude and... anyway, so I thought, oh, well, I must have been tired. And I haven't been very well all week, so I'm probably a bit run down. Just while my hair's looking a bit lank, actually. I've been soaking myself in castor oil on this lump I had on my back, but it seems to have gone down, so thank goodness. And I've been trying to do a bit of self-healing and get myself in order, right? So anyway, I woke up at 12:16, wide awake, and I thought, oh, the poor bird needs to go out, but it was a bit murky outside. So I put her outside and the dog went out to pee. And I got really excited and thought, well, I'll cast a silver ring today. Weather's not too bad, I thought. So I carry all my equipment outside, have to carry the heavy oxygen and LPG tank outside, and I have to tie the oxygen tank up to my soldering station so that it's safe. And I had everything safe and perfect, right? And I get my silver out and I start melting the silver, and it melted perfectly, and I was really happy. But the crucible was perfect, but I had these tongs that, oh, look, I'm going to throw them out. They're just dangerous. So anyway, I lifted the crucible with the molten silver, ready to pour down the sand casting, the Delft sand casting, into the mould, and the stupid tongs, it slipped out, and the molten silver flew everywhere. It actually flew forwards towards me and fell down in front of me and melted my bloody, very expensive Little Smith torch hoses. So now to buy from the AJS website new Little Smith torch hoses is $440, $404 plus GST. So you might as well say $445. So that was the end of my day, right? This happened about, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. I was so distressed. I've been so distressed about that, really distressed. So I went on my women's jewellers collective and told them about my mistake, because I'm a new silversmith, so I'm making lots of mistakes like this. But it actually wasn't my fault. Like, I was congratulating myself on the perfect melt, which melted perfect. It didn't take long to melt. If you don't have the heat up enough, like the last one I had, it took forever to melt, and I knew it wasn't right. So I knew I'd got the temperature right. That was perfect. But the tool let me down. And let me down in a very expensive way, because it damaged the hoses on my gas. So there's gas, oxygen gas everywhere. I'm freaking out. I'm turning the tank off. And probably wasted a whole compressed cylinder of gas at $65 a bottle too. I only just replaced it. So I was gnashing with rage at myself and my mistake all day long. All day I've been kicking myself about it. And I was thinking to myself, you know, you keep making these mistakes and it's costing you a fortune, you keep failing, and then you have this thing in your social life where you go dancing, where I haven't done anything wrong and I haven't made any mistakes, but I feel like I'm being infantilized and insulted and denigrated from time to time, you know, by the bar staff or by few of the nasty regulars. And I'm thinking, why am I putting myself in this position? You know, I'm not paid to be there. I don't have to be insulted like that. And then in my working life, which is not really work, but I do for a hobby, I'm trying to like make jewellery and melt silver. I'm having all this drama with that and chaos with things going wrong. And when things going wrong, costing hundreds of dollars to replace, right? So I was freaking out. All day I've been freaking out about it. But then the other really weird thing that happened was sometime late this afternoon, I get this message from some medium that followed me on my Instagram, on my Titania's Realm Instagram, which is where I post all my jewellery, and I'm honest. I go, oh, this failed, or I did this wrong, but this happened, and I made this out of this. And I show my journey of my creativity and where things have gone wrong, where things have gone right. And when things go right, I'm like really excited, you know. Anyway, this person is a medium, probably just one of those scammers, like somewhere in deepest, darkest Nigeria. Anyway, so she messages me randomly. She tried to message me a few days ago and went, hello, dear. I'm thinking, you know, I find it weird when they go, hello, dear. You think they'd use your name or that. It's just so generic. So I just ignored it. So she messaged me this afternoon, and I must have been feeling a bit vulnerable about having lost being able to finish my casting job and make that lovely ring, and all that money I've lost on that hoses for the torch, which need replacing now. And all day I've had advice from the Women's Collective on to buy generic torch hoses or to buy a whole new generic torch. And then another woman said she just uses $10 hoses and clamps it on herself. And I'm nervous about making a mistake, right? Because with that gas, it's got to be safe and you've got to know it's right. And I'm probably being precious about it, you know, like overthinking it. But I just have this huge anxiety. But I had so many like supportive messages from women all over the world who are jewellers telling me, no, this is what we do and you can do this and this is another option, and giving me advice. So I started to feel a little bit more, you know, settled about it all. And then I get this weird message from this psychic Catherine, somebody, medium or whatever. And honestly, it was just such an obvious kind of grooming, seducing lure for, I don't know what she wanted actually. But she sends me this uninvited reading and tells me how money is flowing to me and she can see that I'm powerful and that I'm on the brink of some great breakthrough and I'm seen and everyone is going to gift to me. And as soon as I read it, I thought, what a load of hoo-ha. Because unbeknownst to her, I just had this epic fail with my gas. And I hadn't posted that on my Titania's Realm page. I'd only posted it on the group that I, that I share things with, because, a lot of them are experienced jewelers and we all support each other, right? So this medium randomly says to me, oh, all these wonderful things are opening up for you and you're powerful and you have such a positive light. And do you communicate with your ancestors? Do I what? Like, we've got the bowl from Krakow, Poland, right? So anyway, I wrote back and said, yes, I communicate with my ancestors constantly. And she's like, oh, that's good. Oh, do you know that your chakras are all like, they're all blocked and they're all unaligned? That's a scam. Whenever a psychic medium tells you, oh, your chakras are all blocked, let me fix that for you. It usually involves lots of money and lots of, storytelling that is not quite true, people. It's a scam. So as soon as she said, oh, your chakras are blocked, I just wrote back, uh-huh. And then the next thing she writes back, oh, I was drawn to your page because you have such a positive, beautiful light. And I just felt the urge to contact you. I'm thinking, no. Bullshit. Where does she start hitting me up for money? So also, she just contradicted herself, because in the previous statement she said, oh, your chakras are all blocked. And the next statement, oh, but you have such a positive light. I thought, this is a love scammer. It's someone trying to lure some vulnerable, sad, pathetic woman in, thinking that some psychic's going to help her find her path and make her life beautiful. And, she goes, oh, do you know about ancestors? Do you know about your spirituality? As soon as they start that, people, red flag. Warning, Will Robinson, abort. So instant block, delete. And then I started to worry, because I am a little bit vulnerable. Maybe she was well-intentioned. But I said to her, no, I didn't ask for a reading. And I don't invite uninvited. I don't welcome uninvited messages or readings from people. And I really don't. I had an entire friendship with a medium I went to see at Browns Plains who, well, whether she was a fraud or I can't quite work her out, but she turned out to be a freaking neo-Nazi, didn't she? And told me that Auschwitz is beautiful. So that was the end of that friendship. I'm still a Jew, people. I'm still a Jew. I do not tolerate people with that kind of mentality that is so putrescent and ugly, that would sit and tell a Jewish person that Auschwitz is beautiful and good for our souls' edification. Like, complete rot and evil and putrescence. Instant, cut that person out of my life. So now I get this whack job today telling me about how positive and light my energy is. And do I talk to my ancestors? But your chakras are all blocked. Yes, my chakras are blocked, baby. Block, delete. So anyway, it's been a weird 24 hours. But I do feel a little bit calmer about my Smith Little Torch fiasco. I haven't got money to replace the hoses yet, and they will be quite expensive. Even if I get cheap hoses, it's still going to be an expense can't afford right now, right? So I'll just have to calm down, bide my time, and finish the ring another day. I've already worked out another option. I still have the torch head from the disposable propane gas cylinders you buy in Bunnings, which don't melt as hot as a little torch, but do melt if you're lucky. And, you know, I have managed to melt with it before. But I don't think I will, have another attempt at it till I buy a proper crucible holder, you know, one of those long adjustable ones that holds it properly so I don't spill silver like that ever again. Because I tell you what, if that silver had hit my bare feet and legs, which I was lucky, I jumped backwards when I saw it splatter, but it would look, honestly, it would have only taken one piece to hit my legs. I would have been very badly burnt, right? So I was lucky I wasn't hurt. And not just that, but doing $445 worth of damage to the hoses, that hurts, you know, just as badly when you're on a disability pension like myself and I'm trying just to survive daily on my own steam. To have that happen, I can't afford that kind of a mistake. But there we go. I'm still paying off the torch, so I thought, well, I could go and buy the hoses and put them on my Afterpay, but, you know, then it's another debt hanging over my head. So I think I'll wait now. I'll calm down. I'll wait till I pay off the torch. I still owe $900 on it. And then when I've paid that off, I will buy the replacement hoses, and hopefully I'll be able to find replacement hoses somewhere else that don't cost $445, because that's just insane. It's just too much for me. And but I think I'll just channel all my energy into paying off the torch and being completely debt free before I buy anything else for that blinking torch. It's been a little bit of a disappointment, really. I've only been able to make one thing out of it, which was the Yoda, and that took me 5 attempts and one whole tank of gas at the initial outlay was $189, and then the exchange bottle, which I got Friday, cost me another $65. So that one pendant I've got is an expensive pendant, what I've had to spend to create one thing. But that's okay, because eventually I will get the hang of it and hopefully have no more accidents, and I'll be able to make more things, and eventually the equipment will pay itself off, right? If I'm lucky enough to sell my jewellery. And if not, you know, I'll have some nice gifts for people, and either way it'll pay itself off, you know, over time, in value and what I would have, you know, what I would have made with the value of the jewellery that I may or may not sell. So all is not lost. All is not lost. I had to talk myself down a bit today. I was so upset and distressed and anxious and disappointed and worried about the expenses of things, because everything I have at the moment with the silversmithing is on the other side of fear, right? Like it was a big learning curve, and it was a big kind of financial risk to even buy the torch. But I thought, well, I need the torch so I can melt silver, so I can do casting and make things. And I didn't factor into the equation that this would happen, that I'd end up melting hoses, and that it was going to cost more money and more money and more money and more money and more money. So I'm a bit upset about that. But look, honestly, after a while, when I get, you know, the right equipment that doesn't spill silver everywhere, I might actually be able to make things without these dramatic spiraling unders. Let's hope so. Otherwise, I've just wasted my time. And I was thinking about it today, about how I've wasted my entire life being a zombie for 30 years, being a mother and a wife, and, you know, and then for years on my own, struggling on my own on welfare, you know, raising my children while under constant bloody threat, like vicious constant threat. And I got us through all that by myself. So I'm capable, I'm strong, I'm intelligent, and I'm worthy. Have to remember that part. I am worthy. So I can achieve the silversmithing aims. All it takes is patience and the right equipment and not making serious mistakes like I did today, having that thing completely drop and spill silver everywhere. What a nightmare. But anyway, I will persevere. I mean, there was moments today when I thought I should just give it all up. I'm wasting my time. I'll never get anywhere. And then I thought, but wait a minute. Look at all the successes I have had and the enjoyment I've got out of having those few successes. And, you know, and then I got maudlin at one point. I was thinking, oh, yeah, it's so hard doing everything on my own. I don't have a husband or a lover or partner to support me in my dreams. I don't have extra income coming in. I haven't made any sales. And I'm doing this all on my own with a very, very bad nervous system that's severely damaged and triggered since early childhood. I'm performing something that is actually quite amazing here, functioning quite highly in my, you know, late 50s. I'll be 58 next month. So that was the other odd thing this evening, around about 8 p.m. Now it's 3 hours difference between Brisbane and Wellington, New Zealand. I got the urge to contact my childhood friend. Excuse me. I'm getting asthma because it's got cold here from the aircon. So I'd rather be cold from the aircon, but it messes with my chest a bit. So anyway, I got the urge to call to message on Messenger my childhood friend, but it was like 8 o'clock here, and I thought, oh, it'll be 11 o'clock her time. I won't bother, and I haven't heard from her, and I haven't made contact myself either since October. And I thought, oh, you know, I'll just leave it. It's too late this evening to contact her. Well, about an hour later, so she must have been up late. It's Sunday evening here. She messaged me and wrote, "Happy birthday, Tanya," which I thought was very odd because, number one, I'd been thinking about messaging her an hour prior but thought it was too late in the evening there. And number two, it's not my birthday. It's not my birthday till the 12th of April. And she's grew up with me. We grew up as close as sisters. So she should know that, right? But, you know, she's obviously forgotten and thought it's a month earlier. I think she did the same thing last year. And it's no big deal. Look, birthdays are hard to remember. It's just a little tiny bit concerning because we were so close as children. You'd think she would know when my birthday is. But be that as it may, life is stressful and people get forgetful and we don't really speak or make contact very often. So there is that. So I wrote back, "Thank you, but it's not till the 12th of April, but thank you." And I said, "Interestingly, I was thinking about messaging you tonight." Anyway, she didn't see any of my messages, so she must have wished me happy birthday and then gone to bed. So I thought that was weird. It's like a hit and run late at night just before she goes to bed, which the last time she messaged me, I think it was like that too. But I thought, oh, isn't it sweet that she remembers it, well, remembers me, or that my birthday's coming up, and that she often thinks about me and remembers me very late at night before she goes to sleep. Well, that's sweet, you know, that is sweet. So I thought, how bizarre that she didn't get my messages back, right? I was a bit disappointed, actually, because I haven't spoken to her since October, and, you know, I kind of distanced myself a little bit in the last few months because I just feel like, you know, it's been so many years since we've seen each other. And sometimes when I contact her, she gives me short shrift because she's always busy, of course. And then I just think, oh, well, you know, why bother? I don't fit into this person's life anymore and haven't for many years. But then I get these little hit and run messages, you know, usually at midnight her time. And I thought, well, that's sweet. You know, that is still a sweetness. So I acknowledge that and I'm happy about that. So anyway, so that's my video. It's been very spiritual, you know, connections with the ancestors, with the little wooden bowl I bought from Krakow, Poland. And, you know, the disappointment over my Smith little torch, which is costing me a fortune in more ways than one, darling. And, yeah, and just the little signposts along the way, and me, like, kind of riding this tidal wave of building kind of malfeasance with what's going on at the casino, which is a scene that I've been involved in for 12 years. It's like, you know, one could almost get paranoid. I think, were they hoping that I'd turn on my heels and leave, you know, just to get rid of me? But they don't know that I'm stubborn. And I've done no harm to anyone there, not even the enemies that have turned vicious and foul. Never done any harm to them. All I've done is turn up, dance on my spot, usually on the right-hand side of the stage, like a crazy person, for sometimes 4 or 5 hours or however long my energy meridians hold out. It's less now because I'm getting older and weaker and I haven't been well. You know, I'm averaging about 3 hours of a weekend. But that's all I've done, is hold my ground and ask to have that one little spot in the whole bar where I feel comfortable and relatively safe, although I'm not really, given the stalkers that still hang around and the malfeasant, condescending, nasty few enemies. I have maintained my integrity and my power as a woman and held my ground. So, you know, I haven't been vicious to anyone, got no need to, you know. And to be fair, a lot of the vicious people that were really extremely vicious years ago, to the point they contributed to me becoming suicidal, have left and don't come there anymore. There's only a few strays like that horrible man last night who really is, he's horrible. He is just so awful. You know, the rest of the people, by and large, tolerate me quite well, letting me have my little, what does my psychiatrist call it? Performance art. You know, they just let me do my thing and be happy, and they know I go home tired, alone, in my car, alone, to my house, all alone. And during the week, I do my little crafts, make jewellery, or in the old days, prior to that, I was knitting fairies and keeping myself busy and living a very harmless and simple life, which is good, you know. So, but yes, if things are going to get more and more unpleasant at the casino, I've done that scene. I've risen above that scene before. I can't be bothered, you know. My health is precarious. I have terrible arthritis. I have chronic gut problems. I have chronic asthma. Do I need to be going out in the weekend and being stressed out of my gills over idiots? I don't think so. My time and my energy is precious. And I don't even know how much time I have left on this planet. I don't want to be wasting it on idiotic people who are just nasty and despotic and peevish and disrespectful and just plain freaking weird. I don't. I'm much better off. If the worst comes to the worst and the zombie apocalypse gets any worse and it's not safe for me to go dancing out in the music scene anymore, and by rights it has never actually been all that safe for me. Even with security all around, I had to fight for my little spot there at the Live Wire Bar over the past 12 years. I had to fight for my little spot previously at Irish Murphy's. And by fighting, I mean just consistently show up, claim that little spot. I mean, there's no aggression or viciousness extended to anyone. It would just be me, show up, put my bag down, dance in that spot until it was time to go home. And, you know, if people don't like my presence in the world, I can't help that. I exist, therefore I am. And I enjoy my life because I've been through hell and back by the time I was 6 years old. So I enjoy my life. I claim my life and I hold it precious, just as precious as everyone else on this planet has a right to have their place where they like to dance and be carefree and joyous. You know, I don't impede on anyone else's enjoyment. When that young woman wanted to join me at my table because she'd seen me fight to keep that my new position, you know, did I say, oh, sorry, you can't be here, I fought for this space, you have to go? No, I'm not like that. I'm not primitive. You know, I'm not selfish. I'm not an asshole, and I'm not primitive. You know, I just want to have my drink and dance and have a good time and not be impeded on by people who are just young and inexperienced or alternatively malevolent. You know, I don't think the manager was being malevolent though. I think she's just young and inexperienced. And maybe they wanted to see if I'd throw a fit or something too. You know, I don't know what that was about. Some weird little test. But anyway, by the end of the night, the security guards came, glared at me, shoved the table back where it was originally and looked at me like it was my fault. It's like, no, dudes. Talk to the manager, find out why the table was moved in front of me. You know, I didn't ask for a table. Honestly, it's all ridiculous, the whole thing. It's so trivial, it's so ridiculous. But anyway, maybe it might be time that I started going to other clubs and just being absent for a while. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, does it not? On that note, I'm going to go to bed and have a wonderful evening, people. Love is the law. Peace be upon you. Blessings be upon you. And by the gods, there is great power and honour and joy in holding your ground. Never let the bastards grind you down. Good night from she who melted $440 hoses today. Take care. Good night.